Cooking is fun, rewarding, stimulating, delicious, and easy. In this series, I'm going to show you a number of dishes that I've learned to make over the years. A recipe is simply a set of instructions that tell you how to put together some delicious meal. However, a recipe is just an idea. It can be changed, it can be modified, you can experiment with it. When I was young, I used to follow recipes very closely. Later, when I met my amazing wife, I was blown away by how she never used recipes, yet she was able to put together these wonderful meals very easily. Quickly, I started to modify my recipes by a little and then by a lot. Then, before I knew it, I got to the point where I could pretty much make anything that I felt like eating. And that's what it's all about, right? My plan for this series is to show you some dishes that are delicious and anyone can make. In this first episode, I'm going to give you some quick tips that will help make things easier in general. I'm also going to show you a spicy potato dish. First, let's talk about measuring. Accuracy in following a recipe is often less important than most people would think. But regardless of this point that I'm trying to make, I still feel that it's important you know how to measure. In general, it's best to have a level measurement, but it's not critical. Some people use a knife to make sure it is level. I just strive to get close, and it always comes out great. Be careful with salt though, I always err on the side of caution. If you're making something that you can taste test, like a soup, then you should put in less and adjust at the end by adding a little more as needed. The last thing you want to do is ruin a meal with too much salt. One simple tip is that there are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. This is very basic, and I'm sure most of you knew this, but if you didn't, you'll likely find it helpful at some point. For example, you could use 1/3 of a tablespoon rather than getting a teaspoon dirty, or maybe use 3 teaspoons if you need a tablespoon. It's just good to know. Also good to know is that there are 16 tablespoons in a cup. So if your recipe calls for 4 tablespoons, you can just use a 1/4 cup. This comes in handy if you want to double or triple your number of servings you are cooking. A lot of people use their hands to measure tablespoons and teaspoons. For me, this is a tablespoon. If you practice, you can get really good at it. It's so easy. For me, this is a teaspoon. If you get into baking, you'll measure a lot. If I reach in and pack a full cup of flour, it will lead to an inaccurate measurement. See how packed this is? If I take this flour and I fluff it up so you can see how much flour there actually is, it's not a cup. It's actually a 1.5 cups. That's 50% more flour than I was expecting to get. See? A 1.5 cups. The key is to be consistent. Many experts say that you should scoop it into your measuring cup. This is a very good approach unless you don't have all day and you'd rather be doing more important things. So even then, I didn't do a very good job. I'm going to need another scoop. How'd that work? Good. What I like to do is get my measuring cup in there and give it a good shake. I'm a little bit under a cup on this one, you'll see this, but I put it in, I fluff it up, and then when you look at it, you pretty much got a cup. That was very easy, and that's what I recommend you do. All right, now for the fun part. Let's do some cooking here. I'm gonna make some spicy potatoes. I get the oil good and hot, and then I'm gonna toss in 4 cloves of garlic that I chopped up here into small pieces. I like garlic a lot, so I'm gonna put that in and it's gonna start to turn golden. Then I'm gonna toss in, this was 1/2 of a large yellow onion, and I gotta break up the pieces. Onion tends to stick together and you wanna make sure it cooks evenly. So I'm just gonna break everything up, stir everything up, get it all coated in that oil. Now I'm gonna put in 10 sliced golden potatoes. And these are a type of potato that I really like. You could cut them any way you want. You could cut them bigger, smaller, different shapes. I'm just going with this shape. I really love the golden potatoes, but you could use any potato. Now you add some black pepper. All right, now I was gonna put some salt in, but then I thought, I'd rather have soy sauce because it's kind of an alternative for me and it gives it a unique flavor, gives it a little bit of color. So I just gotta mix that soy sauce in and these potatoes can start to really get cooking. They're definitely getting good and hot in there. Then I'm going to put in some Cholula. My kids love Cholula. They love all the hot sauces, Tabasco, Tapatio, all those kind of things, but Cholula is their favorite by far. And it does give it a little bit more color. It's nice. It's not too hot, but it's definitely a great flavored sauce. Now, because I like it even spicier, I'm gonna put in some really hot peppers that I have. And these guys are very, very spicy peppers. And I'm gonna mix those in. So I have 5 tomatoes from my garden. I cut them up this way, but you could cut them however you want. You could cut smaller pieces, bigger pieces. My goal though with this is to turn it into sort of like a sauce. I want the tomatoes to break down and not really be as much a part of the dish as more of the flavoring of the dish, but the potatoes will be what stands out the most. So I'm gonna cover this and I'm gonna cook it for a while, maybe like 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna check on it, seeing how it's doing. The tomatoes are starting to break down really good. It's kind of sticking to the pan in some areas, which is good because it means like the tomatoes and all the onions and stuff are melting really nicely. And so I just kind of scrape that off a little bit and I mix it up, get it all even. I even sometimes just take the whole pan and give it a shake to kind of even it out a little bit, and then I'll still spread it out a little bit better. But the idea is I'm trying to get these potatoes to cook, and there's a lot of them in this pan, so they need to cook evenly. So I'll cover it again for a while, another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm checking on it now. It's looking really, really good. It's the texture I'm looking for. The potatoes are pretty much done now. I mean, they're not falling apart. I taste tested it, and I realized I need a little bit more soy sauce. So that's where I would like to taste it in the end and just see if I think it needs a little bit more salt. And it did. It's got a great color right now. These are smelling so good. They look really good. And my family is excited. I'm going to put them in a nice bowl so we can have it as a side dish with our meal tonight. I wish you could smell this. It is so delicious. Cooking like this is fun and easy. You just have to give it a try. Follow the recipes to learn the basics, but then experiment and use your imagination. Thank you for watching.